Yeah, so I just got out of a Christian movie night. It was an online one, so I didn't have to go anywhere because of course, lockdown's on, I can't go anywhere. Um, but yeah, uh, I there are Christian movies I definitely like. There are some that I can respect, and there are some proto-Christian movies which while the theology in them is concerning to me, I again that I can find things in them that I think are theologically sound. But um yeah, that there's also this other breed of Christian movie that I find really tough to watch. Because a lot of the values they show in the movie are not actually biblical values, they're not actually Christian values. They're more like stereotypes of what Christians are supposed to feel. So there's this intense suspicion of contemporary technology. Usually there's the assumption that if you have teenagers, they must be off trying to commit crime or trying to sneak off to slutty parties. There's the assumption, there's the assumption of um, the dad's a selfish jerk. If you're not like a full proper hardcore, born again Christian, you must be a terrible person. Um, even if you go to church on Sundays, you're still not Christian enough. And the rubric for how they decide someone is Christian enough is fairly abstract. It seems to hinge upon you have to become the Christian stereotype. You can't have your own personality. You can't have your own understanding of scripture. You have to be stereotypical. You have to do nothing but think and act exactly in that way. And so I find these movies quite frustrating. Usually it's Pureflix that publishes this sort of film. And it's just very hard to watch because, of course, they make it look like you become a Christian and then you're a wonderful person, you never step a foot wrong, which is not really true. Um, it's closer to the truth that as you go through the Christian life, you will still make mistakes. They'll just be different mistakes. What I would really love is if they subverted the typical narrative of, oh, there's this protagonist who's a bit of a jerk, and then he becomes a Christian thanks to this friend he has who regularly shows up and talks to him in a really condescending tone of voice, and constantly pressures him to read the Bible more. Not because he has any external evidence that the guy hasn't been reading the Bible, but simply because you know he's just heard the guy talking about some of the personal problems he's been having and decided to go, you need to read the Bible more. Which again, I hate. I hate that they show people talking this way in movies, because in reality, whether you're a Christian or not, you're going to have problems in life. But if every time your friends come up to you and ask you for help or emotional support, your answer is read the Bible more, you're a terrible friend. Like, it's in of itself, it's good advice. It's good advice to read the Bible, but if a person's asking you for help and all you ever say is read the Bible, like if a person's trying to really talk to you about what's happening to them, and instead of listening to what they have to say and trying to commiserate with them, trying to offer them empathy, you're just like, read the Bible more, read the Bible more. Like, that's, you know what I mean? I don't believe that's a demonstration of godly love. I don't believe that's, constructive. I just think it's not helpful at all. And so I tend to believe that Christian movies are just a bad idea to watch in general as a Christian group. I had to exit the session because right away after the movie was done, they were talking about, oh, did you like it? Did you, what did you think of it? And of course, I couldn't sit there and just sledge it after other people had sat there and said, "Oh, it's very good. It's got a good, challenging message," and all of this sort of thing. Like yeah, it's challenging because it's asking you to do the impossible. It's asking you to magically become a perfect person by reading the Bible a little more often, which is it's just not reality. It's just not how Christianity works. It's not how anything works. Um, definitely becoming a Christian changes people. A lot of people find that not only do their behaviors and attitudes improve after becoming a Christian, but they find it a lot easier to be Christian the right way. But like, yeah. Um, yeah. Sorry, I'm a little distracted because I'm in the middle of doing a bit of origami in preparation for some of my orders in my business. Um, but I suppose people like me who don't fit the standard Christian stereotype have a vested interest in being frustrated with stock standard stereotypical depictions of Christians. Oh, there was this moment in the movie where, yeah, wait, okay, when the ultra-Christian guy was talking to the not-so-Christian guy about reading his Bible more often, it was interesting to watch because what it told me is that the people who wrote the movie, it, it, it it's like they don't know what it's like to think any other way. To think about, what it's actually like to be a person who doesn't read the Bible often. And the thing is, it wasn't a natural conversation. If I went up to a friend of mine and talking about a problem, and their answer for me was read the Bible more, my answer to them wouldn't be, "Oh no, I'm a dad and I'm this and I'm that." Well, of course I wouldn't say I'm a dad, but my answer wouldn't be, "Oh, I'm too busy to read the Bible ever." My answer would be more like, "How is that relevant to the things that I just told you about? Like, of the things I've told you, what is it that makes you think I'm not really reading the Bible?" Because reading the Bible, however often, isn't going to magically make a person's life perfect. It isn't going to magically make it so that you never need to talk with a friend and have them offer you a bit of emotional support. If anything, the Bible itself really heavily emphasizes that the early Christians were supportive of each other and looked out for each other and didn't just sit there going, read the Bible more. In fact, they couldn't because back then the Bible was just the Torah and a lot of the Bible was still being written. So, yeah. Oh, and there was this other moment in the film where one of the main characters was sitting down with one of the other main characters, and, they were having this conversation, and, you know, one character was like, "Oh, have you seen War Room?" Which is, this Christian movie that's moderately well known. And the other character is just like, "Oh, no, I don't really like Christian movies." And the person who brought up the Christian movie was just like, and you know that the filmmakers want you to be thinking, what? She says she's a Christian, but she doesn't like Christian movies? Shouldn't she like Christian movies since she is a Christian? But, of course, like, see, this is one of the things that frustrates me about the conceit of having a Christian media. It is this idea that you're living a life where your life as a Christian has to be divorced from your life as anything else, which, is not really how Christian life works. You're a Christian all the time, so why just have Christian movies and then, act as though non-Christian movies are only non-Christian? Like, why, you know what I mean? Why create that false dichotomy when a secular movie, like, see, that is the assumption, though. The assumption they have is that And this is another thing that the movie perpetuated, this idea that Christians are in this culture war against broader society where everyone's against you unless you're just like them. And that look, okay, yes, I can say confidently that in non-Christian societies you will find friction, of course, and there are places in the world where Christians face real legitimate persecution. But to extrapolate that and say, oh, I'm being persecuted in my country, but, just because someone didn't want to listen to me harping on about, a Christian movie that I watched this weekend. It's a bit silly. But it's more than that. It's like this assumption that you're somehow not really a Christian unless you watch every single Christian movie. Or enjoy every single Christian movie, when actually a big part of why I don't like Christian movies is precisely because I don't think that their content is necessarily theologically sound a lot of the time. A lot of the time, I feel that they just encourage Christians to be self-righteous. And again, part of the reason I don't like Christian movies is because usually the token Christian character who shows up, or the Christian characters who are in the movie, usually behave in a very self-righteous manner, but no one ever calls them out on it, and they never repent of it. It's just there in the movie, and you're meant to be like, oh, that's cool, that's nice. Oh yeah, they're right, because they're acting like they're superior to everyone else. I don't, I know what the Bible teaches. I know what we're supposed to be doing as Christians, and that's exactly why I don't think watching Christian movies is a good use of my time. I think it's actually better if we pull our heads out of, our own little Christian world and get out there and find out what other people actually think so that we can actually communicate with them. When Paul went to Rome, he didn't just sit and, looking at the idols. I talk about this before, he didn't just sit there looking at the statues of different gods and goddesses in the, Greco-Roman pantheon and go, you know, you guys suck, you're all demoniacs. No, he didn't do that. He actually tried to learn a bit about how they think, learn a bit about what they believed in, and he actually, noted that it's really cool that they had that much devotion to something that they believed in. He actually took the time to notice the things that they were doing right. And, he didn't just set out to be critical, and again, I talk about things that I feel has been lost in society, but I feel like this is one of the things that has. We don't think that way, we don't think with appreciation or with thankfulness anymore. We're always just nitpicking, just looking for things to be wrong with someone else, instead of trying to find what's good and, trying to work with what's there. And Christians do it and non-Christians do it, and I feel like if we Christians want to make the claim that we know better, we have to do better. We can't just go with the trends and be awful to people because we can, you know? But yeah, that's what I think anyway. And those are, my thoughts on Christian films.